Spanglish friends, what's the very first thing you do when you wake up? Brush your teeth? Take a shower? Well, today we'll tell you how to say all of that in Spanish. And the verbs we'll use all have something special in common. Welcome to Spanglish Friends, the podcast for true beginner Spanish learners.
Hola amigos, I'm Val, your co-host and experienced Spanish teacher from Venezuela.
And I'm Em, your Australian co-host who's been learning Spanish for 10 years.
Our goal is simple, to get you confident listening and speaking in beginner Spanish with content you'll actually use in real-life conversations.
Join the Spanish Friends community by subscribing wherever you listen to podcasts and following us on social media at Spanglish_friends. Let's get started.
Comencemos.
Hola, Oli, Spanglish friends.
Muy buenos días, amigos. Bienvenidos and welcome to episode 27, episodio 27. Today, we are teaching you how to describe your daily routine. To do that, you'll need to use reflexive verbs, a special kind of action words.
Ooh, I'm so happy we're finally teaching everyone reflexive verbs. Val, even 10 years into my Spanish learning journey, reflexives are something that I still struggle with from time to time. I wish I had an episode like this when I started learning Spanish.
Totally. But don't worry, friends, you'll become pros quickly.
Absolutamente. In 10 minutes, you'll be able to answer these 3 questions with ease. Pregunta número 1. ¿Qué es un verbo reflexivo y por qué lo necesitamos? What is a reflexive verb and why do we need them? Pregunta número 2. ¿Cómo formamos un verbo reflexivo? How do we make a reflexive verb? And finally, pregunta número 3. ¿Cuáles son algunos verbos reflexivos comunes para las rutinas diarias? What are some common reflexive verbs used to describe daily routines?
Awesome. Let's start with our conversación pequeña to bring what we are going to learn today to life. So, I'm going to ask Emmy today about her morning routine.
Now, don't worry if you don't understand everything. The objective is to recognize familiar words and see just how far your Spanish listening is progressing. Plus, to introduce some new words in a familiar context. Quick challenge, try to catch and write down, friends, at least 3 words you already know. After, we're going to be answering our questions of the day and breaking this conversation down so you can understand everything that we've said. Ready, Profe Val?
Sí, mi mejor amiga, my bestie. Comencemos. ¿Cuál es tu rutina en la mañana?
Bueno, cada mañana me despierto muy temprano. Luego me levanto a las 7 y hago la cama.
Bien, Emmy. ¿Y qué haces después normalmente?
Luego me quito la ropa, me baño, me cepillo los dientes y me visto para el trabajo. Después voy a la cocina para desayunar tostadas con un café.
¿Y te maquillas en la mañana?
Sí, me maquillo, pero solo un poco. Después de desayunar me pongo los zapatos y me voy a trabajar.
Friends, pause for a second and repeat the following out loud. Me despierto, me levanto, me baño, me cepillo, and me visto. These are all reflexive verbs, and we are going to tell you what they all mean.
Yes, in just 10 minutes, you'll be able to use these reflexive verbs and understand that entire conversation. Let's start the timer and dive into our first question of the day to understand.
Vamos.
Starting with pregunta número 1, Profe Val, tell us, what is a reflexive verb and why do we need them in Spanish?
A verb, to start there, is a doing word. For example, the verb comer is to eat. Beber is to drink. Those are regular verbs. But reflexive verbs describe actions you do to yourself, okay? This means that your body receives the action of the verb.
Right, your body receives the action. And you will know, Spanglish friends, if it's a reflexive verb because it will end in se, se. Quick challenge, can you think of some verbs that might be reflexive in your daily routine right now? Maybe you're thinking of things like getting dressed, you do that to yourself, or cleaning your teeth, you do that to yourself. These are all reflexive verbs in Spanish.
Regular verbs end in AR, ER, and IR. AR, ER, and IR, like hablar or vivir, to talk, to live. A reflexive verb has one of those endings plus a se, se, which signals the action comes back to you.
That's right. So an example of a reflexive verb is ducharse. Ducharse, which is literally translated to shower oneself. Another example, despertarse. Despertarse, which is to wake yourself up, to wake oneself up.
If we translate, sounds too direct. To wake oneself up. You'll often find reflexive verbs when people talk about their morning routine, self-care, or emotions, amigos.
That's right. And you'll start to develop your spingle, friends, your Spanish tingle, right? To know when you need to use a reflexive verb. This brings us to pregunta número dos of the day. How do we actually make a verb reflexive?
Let's go back to ducharse. If I want to say I shower, in Spanish, I literally say I showers myself, which means me ducho. For example, normalmente me ducho a las 7 de la mañana.
Yes, normally I shower, literally myself. We wouldn't say that in English, but normally I shower at 7 o'clock in the morning. The key to this, to show that your body is receiving the action, you add a little pronoun before the verb. This makes the action essentially bounce back to yourself. Repeat after me, friends. We have things like me ducho, te duchas, se ducha. These are all the reflexive conjugations of ducharse.
Right. Ducharse, for example, amigos, is an ella verb. Conjugated normally is ducho, all right? The regular form. But to make it reflexive, we add the pronoun me beforehand. So it would be me ducho.
Yes, I shower myself, me ducho. And those pronouns are going to change depending on who we're talking about. Me, you, them, etc. So let's practice together. We have conjugating ducharse, the reflexive verb. You can say me ducho, I shower. Te duchas, you shower. Se ducha, he or she showers. Nos duchamos, we shower. Os ducháis, you all shower in Spain. Or you could say se duchan, which is they or you all shower. Practice saying these out loud.
Can you see how it's just the regular ella verbs conjugation and just said with the new pronouns added? It's not so bad, right? For now, amigos, just focus on me and te to say me and you. Step by step, you'll master the rest.
Yes, like me ducho, te duchas. Just focus on those two main conjugations that you use the most often. Finally, moving on to pregunta número tres of the day. We're already here. What are some common reflexive verbs that we would use to describe our daily routines, Profe Val?
And here are the most common ones. Don't worry about memorizing them right now. Just notice how they look and sound, amigos, okay? Pause and repeat each other with me. We have the first, bañarse, to bathe. An example can be, me baño en la mañana. The next one, ducharse, to shower. An example, me ducho en la tarde. Next one, despertarse, to wake up. Me despierto muy temprano. Levantarse, to get up. An example can be, me levanto a las 7. Next one, lavarse, to wash. Example, me lavo las manos. Next one, maquillarse, to put on makeup. Example, me maquillo todos los días. Next one, cepillarse, to brush. For example, me cepillo los dientes. Another can be ponerse, to put on clothes. Me pongo la camisa. Quitarse, to take off clothes. The opposite, me quito la camisa. And in our last one, vestirse, to get dressed. For example, me visto en las mañanas.
Wow, so many verbs are reflexive, and don't worry, you don't need to have memorized them all. The key takeaway here, friends, is that all of these reflexive verbs, they're ending in se, okay? That's how you know it's reflexive, and that's how you can start to use it in the correct way. A quick challenge, can you identify one of these reflexive verbs that you would use every morning? Maybe me cepillo los dientes, you brush your teeth every morning. Focus on learning that one sentence with that one reflexive verb, so it's not so overwhelming.
Nice quick challenge, Emmy. Thank you. Let's break down now our conversación pequeña from earlier line by line. You have all the theory to understand it, amigos.
Let's do it. So the first thing that Val asked me was, ¿Cuál es tu rutina en la mañana? She asked me the question, what's your morning routine? ¿Cuál es, what is, tu rutina, so your routine, en la mañana, in the morning?
Then my dear bestie Emmy replied, cada mañana, every morning. Cada means every. She said, me despierto. I wake up. Cada mañana me despierto temprano. Temprano means early. Me despierto is a reflexive verb. Say it out loud. Me despierto. I wake up.
Yes, that comes from despertarse, which is to wake oneself up. After that, I said, luego me levanto a las 7 de la mañana. Breaking this down, I said later, luego, I used the reflexive verb levantarse to say me levanto. I get up a las 7 de la mañana, at 7 o'clock in the morning. And I make the bed religiously every morning. You have to make your bed. Y hago la cama. I make the bed.
Then I asked her, ¿y qué haces después normalmente? So I said, what do you do afterwards? Después means after or afterwards.
And we can understand normalmente means normally. That's a nice familiar word. I answered, luego me quito la ropa. Afterwards, I get undressed, me quito la ropa, me baño, I bathe, me cepillo los dientes, I brush my teeth, and me visto para el trabajo. I get dressed for work. Lots of examples of reflexive verbs in this sentence. Hey, Val.
And Emmy, you also said, luego voy a la cocina para desayunar tostadas con un café. So you said later, luego, I go to the kitchen, voy a la cocina for breakfast, para desayunar toast with coffee, which is really good breakfast, tostadas con un café. Finally, I asked, because I was curious, ¿te maquillas en la mañana? Do you put on makeup in the morning?
Yes, do I put makeup on myself? Literally, maquillarse is the reflexive verb. And I said sí, using the correct conjugation, me maquillo, because I do it to myself, right? Me maquillo, pero solo un poco. I added a describing word to say, yes, just a little bit, solo un poco. I finished by saying, después de desayunar, after breakfast, me pongo los zapatos. I put on my shoes. Ponerse is the reflexive verb. Me voy a trabajar comes from the verb irse. I go to work. And then I put on my shoes and I go. So many reflexive verbs in just a few sentences.
Yes, totally, is indeed. And that's the end of our conversation breakdown, amigos, for today.
Woohoo! And don't worry if you don't remember all of the new reflexive verbs we've taught you today, right? The key thing, Spanglish friends, is that if you can start to recognize when you need to use reflexive verbs for those actions you do to yourself, you are already winning and you've leveled up your Spanish skills today. Yay!
Yay! And it's time for our reto of the week, so you can put everything into practice, our challenge. Amigos, this week's challenge, we want to know ¿cuál es tu rutina en la mañana? ¿Cuál es tu rutina en la mañana? What's your morning routine?
It's your time to show up your newfound Spanish skills and cement what you've learnt today. So share your routine right now in the comments or DM us on Instagram using the reflexive verbs we've taught you, such as me ducho, me baño, me maquillo. Do it now while it's fresh in your mind and try to include at least 2 to 3 actions. We can't wait to see you being all creative and confident describing your morning routines. And hey, you might get featured in an upcoming episode Spanglish Friends shout out.
How great and emocionante and exciting. All right, friends, it's time for our 3 things you absolutely need to remember from today. Pay attention. This will level up your Spanish. Número 1. Reflexive verbs are all about actions you do to yourself. How can you tell? They always end in se, se. Every time you see that, think, I'm talking about things I do to me. Número 2. Reflexive verbs need their special little helpers, the pronouns, like me, te, se, nos, and os. These tiny words are what make the action bounce back to you. And last one, número 3. For now, just master me, amigos. Saying things like me ducho, I shower, or me levanto, I get up myself. Once you've got that, the rest will follow the same patterns you already know, the things that we've taught you today. Try saying it out loud now. Me ducho, me levanto, me maquillo. Remember these 3? And you'll be describing your daily routine in Spanish like a pro.
Yes! Now, friends, you understand the basics of describing your daily routine in Spanish. Quick challenge, try saying one reflexive verb right now, out loud, just one time before we finish the episode, to cement your learning. Spoiler alert, next week in episodio 28. Oh my gosh, how are we at 28 already? We are going to be expanding your Spanish vocab by learning how do you describe what you do in your spare time, en tu tiempo libre, using both regular verbs and the new reflexive verbs that we've taught you today.
Muy útil. Very useful. Yay, yay, yay. Espero que tengan una semana hermosa. I hope you have a beautiful week, Spanglish friends, and we are going to see you soon.
Ciao, amigos!
Thank you for listening to Spanglish Friends. We are both so proud of the time you're investing to level up your Spanish listening and speaking skills.
If you've enjoyed today's episode, follow us and give the show a rating wherever you listen to podcasts. Or even better, tell a friend about the show. It's how we can help even more people on their Spanish learning journeys and continue to grow our awesome, supportive community.
Don't forget to check out our socials, including Instagram and TikTok at Spanish_friends for even more beginner Spanish fun.
Congratulations on taking another step today towards your Spanish learning goals. Ciao, Spanglish amigos. Until next time.
Hasta la próxima, amigos.